The injured passengers have been taken by local authorities to the nearest hospitals. We are actively working with the authorities on all emergency response efforts. A special team of caregivers from Air India is on their way to Ahmedabad to provide additional support. The investigations will take time, but anything we can do now, we are doing. We know that many people are concerned for the welfare of their loved ones. We have set up a special helpline that friends and family can reach us at. The number is 1-800-5691-444. That is 1-800-5691-444. We understand that people are eager for information. Please know that we will continue to share accurate and timely information as soon as we can. But anything we report must be accurate and not speculative. We owe that to everyone involved. For now, our teams are working around the clock to support passengers, crew, and their families, as well as investigators, however we can. Thank you.
Well, that was Campbell Wilson, the CEO of Air India, just making that video statement a short while ago. Paul Kelsall is still sitting next to me. Paul, there was one line in that. He talked about all the facts that we know so far, flight number, numbers of people on board, investigations being launched. He said injured passengers have been taken to local hospitals. I slightly paused when I heard that.
I've written that down myself. And
yeah, I mean, we assumed that there were no survivors. We didn't assume. The local police told us there were no survivors, but could there potentially be some that may have survived and potentially be injured?
It would imply as much, unless we read injured in the very, very broadest sense, because the local police believe there are no survivors. I had to double check my notes. I'm glad you took the same note of that, because beyond that, Campbell Wilson there, the CEO, said he couldn't answer all the questions that are outstanding. Of course, he's doing that in a pre-recorded interview, or in a recorded interview. He hasn't taken any questions. One can perhaps understand that, because clearly this is a very, very early stage. But that is the one piece of information from that statement that does beg perhaps an answer. And
Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and I've just coming on very briefly. I have to go and teach some Spanish later. Just to give you an update on this horrible. I mean, this is the only news there is today. Obviously there is more news, but this is the only news that's really being talked about today. This terrible plane crash over in India, this flight that was going from India to Gatwick. So a lot of British people on board, over 50 British people on board. Hi, Yvonne. But that was just like they were just saying then, that was interesting when the guy there was talking. Hi, Paul. He said that the survivors had been taken to hospital. He may have got that mixed up, because it has been announced several times that there are no survivors. So from the actual plane itself. So this, just in case anybody doesn't know what's happened, this flight took off from India. This is the Air India flight heading towards Gatwick, with over 240 people on board, including, of course, the pilots and the cabin crew, etc. You know, we mustn't forget about them. And this plane sort of took off. We'll have a look at it shortly. The video took off and faltered. It looked to me like it faltered. It was like it just couldn't get any, couldn't get the height, could it? And literally within a couple of seconds, literally that quick of taking off, the pilot issued a mayday and then just crashed on top of a medical hostel. When I say a medical hostel, apparently it's a place where trainee doctors, people training to be doctors, were living. They were having their lunch or whatever, just sat in the canteen, and it crashed on top of them. So some of them have been killed. Some had to jump out of windows. Anyway, when this plane crashed, it crashed just outside the airport boundary, just outside the fence. on this medical, what would you call it? It's almost like, or what would we call it? It's like the houses where the doctors live while they're training to be doctors, and they were there, and some of them have been killed and some of them have survived. Now, initially, because then the plane just burst into flames, we saw that the plane burst into flames. It's only just taken off. It would have been loaded up with fuel. Apparently hundreds of bodies, well, at least 200 bodies are going to be found, aren't they? But yeah, that guy just then said, it was some survivors had been taken to hospital. So could anyone have survived the actual crash? I mean, from the plane. I mean, some people have survived being sort of landed on top of. I'm like, no, what I'm thinking of is the halls of residence, like the halls of residence, like if you're at university, some people stay at the university, don't they, in the halls. It seems to be sort of like that, but I don't know anyway. But people training to be doctors. So the irony of that, because, doctors are needed, aren't they, at the end of the day? Doctors, they're people that we need in society. We don't need some other kinds of professions so much. But doctors are one of the professions we do need. So, gosh, where do I go on with this? So it's a massive story, isn't it? Then it turned out this pilot had made a mayday call, but we don't know any more than that. We haven't got the black boxes. They'll be working as quick as they can to give answers, because they know that people will want answers. Why would a plane falter like that? It did look as if it stalled, or anyway, we'll look at the video in a moment. Hi, Lily. Right, let me say hello to everybody before I get into a thing. Hi, ACW. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Lily. Hi, Julie. So, yeah, it's just awful, isn't it? Okay, before I carry on, let's have a look at the actual video. I think we should look at the video. So apparently this was, on this plane were 53 nationals bound for Gatwick Airport. So not only the victims, like the people that have died on the plane, which is terrible, but there would have probably been families expecting them. Families would have said, there's two reasons that maybe a British Indian family would go to India or be flying from India. One is they're going off to visit their relatives in Britain, or they're returning from a visit to their relatives in India. If they're in British Indian, I mean, we don't know that they were all British Indian. There may have been people that were just going to India on holiday, but it's a very popular flight path. It's one of the biggest airports in India, and, we know we've got a strong connection with India. There's a lot of Indian descent people living in Britain. So, were these people going to visit their relatives in Britain, or were they coming back from visiting their relatives in India? I mean, it doesn't matter how sad it is for that. It's terrible. But what I'm trying to say is the people that were their relatives, how awful. If you're going to go and pick your family up at the airport at 6 o'clock, because where are we now? It's 4 o'clock in Spain, which is only 3 o'clock in the UK. This flight was due to descend in Gatwick round about 6:30, I think, in the evening, and people would have been expecting to pick up their families, and unfortunately, just to find this just awful. Let me just show you a couple of things. So we want to have a look first at the so this was the debris, and it was funny how it happened, because it was like, or how it ended up, I should say. So you can see that a big part of the plane is here, but then there was also part of the plane landed on the top of this residence where the doctors were living. Here's the video. So the plane seems to take off, normally. But don't forget, this literally happened within seconds of taking off. It's taken off. It looks like it's not going up even there, doesn't it? Normally, if you've, I'm sure most of you have been on a plane at some time. As soon as a plane takes off, you feel that sensation, don't you, of going upwards. That already doesn't look as if it's going upwards, does it? When you think it's literally just taken off, there's no incline. Looks like it's just going straight. Do you see what I'm saying? It's not going up, is it? It's not going upwards. Hi, Yvonne. Oh, sorry, I thought it was another Yvonne. Hi, Moonbeam. So, yeah, it's level. And shouldn't it be inclined? I don't like that feeling, when you take off and virtually after you've taken off from the runway and it lifts up, you start to go back, don't you? That doesn't look like it's going back, does it? I think it had no thrust. It had no power for whatever reason. It's like it didn't have the power. We've experienced it in our cars. Well, I certainly have many times because I've had lots of old cars. And it's just like you were driving along and then suddenly you're putting your foot on the accelerator and nothing's happening. Well, I say nothing, that's not right. Something's happening. It's moving, but it's not got the acceleration that it should have. That's how it just sort of feels to me, this. But, I'm only, listen, this is Vicky Marie Chats. I'm not an expert in the way planes work. I'm just saying how it feels to me, as you can all say how it feels to you. But yeah, it looks level. It's not inclined upwards, is it? And then it starts to go down. Then it's as if he's trying to go back up again, because it sort of goes level and then it does go up a little bit. And then what a lot of people have mentioned is the actual wheels. I don't know why I'm pointing right at the screen because maybe you can't hear it, you can't see it. But the wheels are down as if it's about to land. So maybe the pilot was thinking he's going to have to do an emergency landing. But this landed in this, as I say, on this hostel or near this hostel and part of the plane, and ended up actually on top of it, these residences where people were having their lunch in the canteen upstairs. And then right there is what makes you think, we said earlier, how could there be any survivors from the plane? Because it seemed immediately they're impacted down, it burst into flames, would have been full of fuel. So it just seems logical, doesn't it? The impact. The only good thing about it is I expect the people that were on that plane, they probably didn't know anything. I mean, the pilot obviously knew that something was going on because he sent the Mayday signal. But I bet the rest of the people on there just, it just happened so quick. They probably didn't even realise really what was going on. They didn't have time to panic too much. And when I say that's the only good thing, it's not a good thing. But I think you understand what I'm saying. They weren't sort of like 10 minutes descending knowing that they were going to die. Literally all happened in the space of seconds. So I hope to God these people did not know anything about it. Now, the other thing, of course, is there were children on board, which is so sad. Hi, Admit. So yeah, I think it looks like mechanical failure. I mean, there's been some talk about possible sabotage because India and Pakistan have been, They're not friends, are they? That's the beginning. Yeah, India and Pakistan are not friends, and apparently Pakistan threatened to, attack an Indian plane. Do you know, though, I don't believe in the sabotage thing, because I'll tell you why. Because really, would Pakistan, I know perhaps they wouldn't care if they're annoy India, because it's India and Pakistan that are arguing, but would they really want to upset Britain? It's like, as far as, would they attack a flight that was flying to Gatwick that had over 50 British people on it? That makes me feel that maybe it's not sabotage, because I feel that if Pakistan was going to sabotage an Indian plane, it would do a domestic flight. But that's just my opinion, as always. I don't know, people might disagree with that. But don't you think that Pakistan would not want to attack a plane that had, and it wasn't only British people, there were Portuguese people on there, and I think there was one Canadian on there. So different nationalities, but the main bulk of nationalities were, of course, Indian, and over 50 were British. I don't know if Pakistan would have done that. So let's go back to Sky News and see if there's any new news. Of course, it's been chaos there, but let's just have a look.
People hearing it will be clinging on to the hope that that may suggest there are survivors, but it's ambiguous, at least when compared to what the local authorities have been saying, which is they believe everyone on board.
Oh, so I just want to pause here to show if you, because I have followers from all over, and there may be people in London who are worried about maybe relatives of theirs or friends of theirs that might have been on that flight. There's a help number here on the right-hand side if you need any help.
Was killed.
Yeah, one would imagine also, though, that would have been heavily checked and triple checked before the CEO of Air India read that out. But we will chase that up, and we will bring you all the latest on this development.
And there's a number there from Air India, for an Indian number. I don't think I have many chatters from India. I might have the odd one, but the bulk of my chatters are from the UK, from Australia, and from America, and then from Europe. I don't think I've got many chatters from India, actually, unfortunately.
Developing story. It's 3 o'clock. You're watching Sky News. We are covering just one major breaking story today. A plane bound for London's Gatwick airport with hundreds of people on board has crashed in India shortly after takeoff. Air India says there were 242 people on board, including 53 British nationals. The airline says 169 of the passengers were...
Hi again, Annie. We're back. I'm just doing a quick live. I've got about another half an hour, and then I've got a Spanish class. Then I've got to take number one son back to work. Then I've got to eat something, have a nap, and then I'll be back for members.
From India, 1 passenger was Canadian and 7 were Portuguese. The Air India flight was departing from Ahmedabad this morning at 1:38 local time, which is lunchtime. The plane was a Boeing 7878 aircraft. A spokesman for Boeing said that they are working to gather more information about the cause of the incident. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi says the crash was heartbreaking beyond words. Now, warning, the footage that we are about to bring you...
So they're going to show you footage of the chaos that's going on. They'll probably show that video again of the plane descending. I think the saddest thing about this is, of course, there were children on board. So, that's just heartbreaking, even more heartbreaking. But yeah, the key is going to be, what is the cause of this? It looked very strange, didn't it? For a plane. I know planes don't crash very often, do they? It's it's very, as much as a lot of us are nervous about flying, including me, terrified of flying. But normally once I've taken off and we've got level in the sky, I start to relax then. I know that takeoff is perhaps the most dangerous time of a flight, but that just looked very odd, didn't it? What was wrong with those engines? That, you know, it looked like it just literally within a couple of seconds, the pilot knew he could not take off properly, and he was on the Mayday, but we don't know what he said yet. It hasn't been released yet, you know, what the Mayday was.
Shows the plane actually going down behind some buildings, which you may find distressing. Well, let's take a look at the timeline of events from the information that we have so far. The Air India plane took off from the western Indian city of Ahmedabad en route to London's Gatwick airport. Just a few minutes after taking off from the airport, it crashed. As you can see from the map on your screen, the last recorded position of the plane shows it was only 625 feet in the air, and it crashed into residential buildings housing doctors.
Yeah, so only, what was it, 600 and something feet in the air? We don't know yet, MPOL, if there have been survivors, because originally they said there were no survivors. But then the guy, he was the MD of Air India. They're probably fact-checking that now, Sky News, because I'm surprised they haven't shown his interview again, but it may come up again. He said there were survivors, but that may not be correct. Though, having said that, really right at the beginning when it first happened, they said there were survivors. Then later they said, no, there was no survivors. And now he said again, talked about survivors. But I don't know if what he means is the survivors from, you know, crashing on top of those residences for the doctors. So, yeah, it's early days. It's still early days. The information that's coming out is in the beginning is always a little bit. Thing is, they rush to get out information because they're trying to keep up with social media. Because social media, you know, on Twitter, they just say anything at any point, you know, about anything. They don't fact check. But of course, the mainstream media, they do have to fact check at least. So they're always slower, aren't they? Social media is always first, but not always correct. So let's see what they say.
Video footage taken shortly after the plane came down shows a large plume of smoke billowing from the crash site close to the airport in Ahmedabad, a city with a population of more than 5 million people. Firefighters doused the smoking wreckage of the plane, which had been fully loaded with fuel, shortly after takeoff. More video is continuing to come in, showing the aftermath and firefighters at the scene. This is the first fatal crash of a Boeing 787 Dreamliner, according to the Flight Safety Foundation Aviation Safety Network. Boeing's website says that the twin-engined plane has carried out more than 5 million journeys in the 14 years since its first passenger flight. At least 100 bodies, some reports say as many as 200, have been recovered from buildings around.
Well, then, Paul, all the meat. Look, if you look at this, look, they're all saying no survivors. No survivors. Oh no, and then this one, Al Jazeera, they're normally quite good actually. At least 204 killed. Then we've got no survivors in the Independent. Let's see what Al Jazeera says, because they're normally pretty accurate, aren't they? So they've recovered 240 bodies. But it doesn't, let's see. Oh, here you go. One survivor of the crash found so far. The police found one survivor in seat 11A. There you go, MPOL. One survivor has been found in the hospital and is under treatment. Cannot say anything about the number of deaths yet. The death toll may increase as the flight crashed. in a residential area. So that's what Al Jazeera says. And then these aviation experts are all saying that the plane's takeoff gear looked, a lot of them have said about the position of the flaps. There's something wrong with the flaps. So we'll see. Were the flaps retracted too soon while the undercarriage was still down? Everything is conjecture at the moment. So let's go back to Sky News again.
Around the site of the plane crash, rescue workers say.
Oh, look at that. So this is the plane, like it must have broken up. That's landed on top of that residency. They were supposed to be sat having lunch or something in the cafeteria. Could you imagine? Literally landed on top of it.
They fear more people could still be trapped inside.
Goodness.
And these are images from inside one of.
Oh, now we've got images from inside as well.
Those buildings. The Boeing Dreamliner 787 crashed directly into a college hostel mess. It was a medical college, according to reports. Lots of students having their lunch there at the time. You can see the fuselage and the wheels of the plane inside the building. An enormous emergency response generated by this. These are the latest pictures from one of the hospitals dealing with the aftermath of the crash. In the last few minutes, we heard from the chief executive of Air India, Campbell Wilson.
Good afternoon. I am Campbell Wilson, the CEO of Air India. I want to brief you on a serious incident that involved an Air India aircraft a short while ago.
Now, he's got a Scottish accent. When this guy's talking to me, it seems like he's trying to have no accent. But I think, well, it's called Campbell Wilson, so he's perhaps likely to be Scottish. But I couldn't decide if it was a Scottish accent or an Australian accent. But it seems like somebody trying to speak with no accent.
But first, and most importantly, I would like to express our deep sorrow about this event. This is a difficult day for all of us at Air India, and our efforts now are focused entirely on the needs of our passengers.
Or is it a South African accent? Do you know what I mean? His accent could be a lot of different accents.
Crew members, their families, and loved ones. I know that there are many questions, and at this stage, I will not be able to answer all of them. But I do want to share the information we have at this time. Air India flight AI 171, operated with a Boeing 787-8 aircraft, traveling from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, has been involved in an accident after takeoff. Flight AI 171 was carrying 230 passengers and 12 crew members on board. Of the passengers, 169 are Indian nationals, 53 are British nationals, there are 7 Portuguese nationals, and 1 Canadian national. The injured passengers have been taken by local authorities to the nearest hospitals. We are actively working with the authorities on all emergency response efforts. A special team of caregivers from Air India is on their way to Ahmedabad to provide additional support. The investigations will take time, but anything we can do now, we are doing. We know that many people are concerned for the welfare of their loved ones. We have set up a special helpline that friends and family can reach us at. The number is 1-800-5691-444. That is 1-800-5691-444. We understand that people are eager for information. Please know that we will continue to share accurate and timely information as soon as we can. But anything we report must be accurate and not speculative. We owe that to everyone involved. For now, our teams are working around the clock to support passengers, crew, and their families as well as investigators, however we can. Thank you.
Well, that there, Campbell Wilson, the CEO of Air India. Let's just bring you some of the latest images that we are getting in to us here at Sky Central. Lots and lots of new images coming through. We're now seeing this is kind of more of a clear-up operation, isn't it, really? They've got heavy diggers in there already, trying to dig down. We saw that these buildings had caught fire. Presumably there's also been a certain element of collapse of some of these buildings. Not clear what they are digging for there, but they've already brought in the heavy diggers there in that residential area, very, very close to the airport. We can see the army there as well in some of those pictures. Let's bring in Paul Kelsall, our correspondent who's here in the studio with me. Paul, we were just listening again to Campbell Wilson, the CEO of Air India. We're both triple checking.
So he mentioned there about survivors. So thank you, Paul, for pointing me in the dark. We're going to have a look at the Mirror. Sorry, not the Mirror, the Daily Mail. Is there a video? Let's have a look. We're going to have a look at the video from the Daily Mail. They say the miracle escape of seat 11A. Oh, so when next time you go on a flight, don't forget to book 11A. Seems like the lucky seat. As British survivor is seen walking away from Air India crash jet on local TV after police said they feared that all 244 on board Gatwick bound flight had died. So, you know, seems like it's true. Well, we'll see. Sorry,
Llevo más de 25 años trabajando en acuicultura y actualmente
God. So where is the guy? Have we got to sit through another advert maybe? Yeah, so it's complete chaos there, isn't it? Complete chaos. Oh my God. Is this the same thing or has it moved on to a different video? It might do. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Or is it? Was that supposed to be the guy? Oh, I can't tell what's going on. No, so this is something else. What the hell is this? Ah, no. What I'm trying to find is the video of the guy walking away from the crash, but anyway, I might not be able to find it here. Gosh, look at these pictures. Look at the chaos. Oh. I mean, at the end of the day, this plane was full of fuel because it had just taken, oh my God. It had just taken off, hadn't it? So, oh gosh, and now it says here, and again, this is the Daily Mail, but rescuers said at least 30 bodies have so far been recovered from the building. So besides the people that were actually on board the plane, and I mean, it looks terrible, doesn't it? Another 30 bodies from the building. I'd like to see the video of the guy walking away from it. God. Oh my God, I wonder what has caused this. I'm not going to read the whole thing out because I think, oh, it might be here. Where was that gone? Let's see this.
Tajín es una sencilla mezcla de chiles, sal de mar y lima. Una sensación difícil.
Oh. So imagine you're waiting to board a flight and you're looking out the window, you know, like you do when you're queuing up to get on your flight, and you see plumes of smoke where another flight has crashed. I don't know if I'd be getting on that flight, to be honest. God. You know, you'd be hard pushed to get on a plane when you'd seen that out the window, wouldn't you? They were quick responding, I've got to say, they were quick responding, you know, recovering the bodies, etc. Very quick. Oh, this is another one. So, yeah. So we don't know any more about, sorry, just let me go back to Sky News, see what they're saying. No, we don't know any more yet.
That we hadn't misheard when we played his clip a short time ago. He said the injured passengers have been taken by the local authorities to local hospitals. We had been led to believe by the local authorities that everybody had perished. This perhaps gives a shred of hope.
It does. Injured passengers, plural, taken to local hospitals by the
Now,
local authorities.
that guy
The
then,
local authorities,
he actually said he actually said passengers. The injured passengers. So maybe there are a couple of survivors on there.
Commissioner, if I have it right, who a couple of hours ago we were bringing to you as the source of reporting that it was believed that everyone on board the plane, all 242 people, 230 passengers and 12 crew, had died. This is the chief executive and managing director of the airline saying clearly that at least some passengers were injured and had not died at the scene. That does provide hope. It begs questions about how many, their condition, where they are now, how they are doing. He prefaced that statement by saying there would be many, many questions and he couldn't answer them all. And he ended it by saying anything we report must be accurate and not speculative. I can understand the impetus and the motivation to get out there and comment and provide what information he can, but this does beg questions. Of course, it does provide hope, but it does beg further clarification of how many people, their condition, and of course for those waiting, be they in India, be they in the UK, Canada or Portugal, the four nations who have passengers on the plane, they will want to know who.
Well, exactly. If your loved one was on that plane and then the Indian authorities said, oh, there were no survivors, and so you'll have been going through starting your grief process, and now they're saying, yeah, that guy said the passengers. So they need to get that sorted because, not for us, but because the people whose loved ones are on that plane, they need to know, you know, God, I don't know what's worse, you know. It's like, so they're telling you your loved one is dead because there's no survivors, and suddenly they say, oh yeah, there are a couple of survivors, but they're not. We don't know who they are. We don't know who's survived, who's died. So these poor people that are waiting to hear about their loved ones, that's a torment, isn't it, for them? Absolute torment.
Also, Paul, in the last few minutes, we've heard from Tata Sons. Now, they own Air India, about compensation that they would like to offer immediately to the families of those who died. They're offering around £86,000 to the families of each person who died in the Ahmedabad plane crash.
What? So they're already offering? I mean, this is only the first day. That I don't like that. So they're offering £86,000 compensation. What is that? Just like hoping that people will take it quick, because you know they're probably entitled to a lot more compensation than that. That's like a knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? It's like before you even know what's happened, you're offering someone compensation before they've even announced who's died or said what the reason was. Oh, here you go, here's £86,000 if you want to take it. You know, it's like, and of course some people who don't have much money, they would take that. God, that's a massive amount of money in itself. But is that just me, or that seems suspicious? Why would you offer compensation this quick before you've even found out what's happened or who's died? They're offering £86,000 compensation. Just seems a bit quick to me. Does it to you? I mean, do you think that's a bit fishy? Oh, sorry.
He was in a plane accident, remarkably unharmed. Now, none of this is confirmed. We've had nothing from the British Foreign Office, from the Indian authorities. So we have to treat this with caution, and we will be doing our best to piece together exactly what we're looking at. But it does appear that there is a survivor, a British survivor from the plane crash, which will give hope that there may be others. We heard a little earlier, didn't we, from Campbell Wilson, the CEO and Managing Director of Air India, who recounted the facts as we largely understood them, and then said injured passengers have been taken by local authorities to local hospitals. He said passengers, plural. So we now appear to know, certainly claims to know about one survivor with a name and a nationality. Perhaps there will be more. Incredibly difficult for those with connections to anyone on board the plane in this void, but certainly some positive news to be leavened with the.
I mean, it is positive news, obviously, if there's survivors, but you shouldn't be saying there are no survivors, then saying, you know, there are possibly passengers who have survived in plural. You know, it's very odd. And they're saying he walked away. I think they did say he as well, as if it was a man, literally walked away from the crash, a British survivor. So how come this one walked away and the others didn't? Or which others did?
The fact that we've also heard our colleague in India talking about 204 bodies being recovered from the crash site.
Yeah, indeed. Well, and we need to remind ourselves, don't we, that you know, may possibly one survivor, 242 people, though, were on board, 169 Indians, 53 Britons, 7 Portuguese and 1 Canadian. And as we remind us of those figures, we have more video that we can show you now. Now, this is more video of the moment the plane took off and came down. And again, a warning, you may find these pictures distressing. Let's show you these new images that we have, though, of CCTV of the plane.
Okay.
And you can see the plane in the top right-hand corner of the image.
Yeah, that's where it falters, isn't it? It's taking off and it looks like it's going up, and then suddenly it seems to sort of level off and sort of almost drop. Yeah, look. Can't do it. It can't get the thrust. And then boom. And then instant. How can anyone have survived that? I mean, is it because the plane did split in half? So maybe somebody was in the half that
Well,
didn't.
they don't need any commentary, do they, these images? They're just absolutely awful. But it also really illustrates, Paul, the speed that this happened. I mean, that plane literally took off and it's 20 seconds later it comes down virtually. It just...
20 seconds. I mean, as I say, the only thing about that is hopefully those poor people didn't know anything.
Got no height at all. You can see quite clearly from these pictures, can't you?
Yeah, and it's that clip we run is less than a minute long in real time, and it emphasises, I think the commentary we heard from a previous guest, the phrase that struck me with the plane needs two things to take off. It needs speed and it needs a lift, and this plane had neither, and we can see that illustrated in the footage. Takeoff speed around 160 miles an hour, but momentum clearly lost decisively and tragically. And it is, having seen those images, all the more remarkable that anyone may have survived, much less walked away. But Chief Executive of Air India says there are survivors and they've been taken to hospital. We have the name of one being reported by Indian news sources, Vishwa Kumar Ramesh, who they say is a UK national who was visiting family in Ahmedabad with his brother. No word on his brother. So we have to treat these reports with appropriate caution and await more detail as it comes.
Okay, I've got a video on Twitter, and I don't know if it's the same as that one they just showed. Let's have a look. Another viewpoint. Yeah, up to there it looks sort of as if it's going okay. And then it just starts to, look, just can't do it. It's like, and it just starts to go down. God. Oh, I can't see how anyone could have survived that, surely. Anyway, watch again. Oh, I'm not sharing it. Here you go. Yep, and then it just levels out, and then it just starts going down. It's a very strange. God. No one could have survived that, surely. Do you see that? Those flames and smoke that came up. How could anyone have survived that? God bless. Well, I still don't see how anyone could have survived that. But anyway, apparently somebody did. But there's more to come. As always, there's going to be more, I expect. Oh, look. Yeah, there they go. Then show it.
from on the ground, people who are on the ground or in these buildings. So an enormous.
That's where we are. You know, that's where we are with this. Lots more to come out. We don't know
that at least one person
the full story
to the boss of the
what
airline,
happened. And it'll probably, sorry, let me just
only injured.
on that.
Paul, we've been talking about him in the last few moments. Let's just bring our viewers this image that we have. This is apparently Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, who is a 40-year-old Briton who was on seat 11A, who apparently walked out of the plane crash. This is the image that we have from the Hindustan Times. Courtesy of them, this image. I mean, it is remarkable, isn't it, if this is what we believe it to be, a British survivor pictured in his hospital bed after appearing to walk away from this plane crash. We mustn't lose sight of the fact, though, that there appear to have been hundreds of others who, certainly not that lucky, who are believed to have perished here. Yes, indeed. There is a quote attributed to him by the Hindustan Times, who've published this image, which are now showing you. The quote, he said to them, 30 seconds after takeoff, there was a loud noise, and then the plane crashed. It all happened so quickly. The paper, or the news source, Hindustan Times, says he received impact injuries on his chest, his eyes and his feet. Clearly, we can see injuries to his face. And that account, brief though it is, tallies entirely with what we've seen. The plane was in the air around a minute, and 30 seconds after takeoff, he said, there was a loud noise caused by we know not at this stage, and then the plane descended. So remarkable to have not just a survivor, but testimony from
I'm absolutely gobsmacked.
Feed in to the investigation that's going to. Is already underway, will be helped by investigators from the UK and the US. But I think more than anything, it will feed some hope among those waiting in India, in the UK, Portugal.
I'm absolutely gobsmacked that this man has just walked away. So 11's a lucky number by the look of it. 11A if you're booking a flight. Look, I've got to go now, unfortunately, because this is just, I mean, so very sad, obviously, because thing is, as human beings, we will hang on to this one survival story, won't we? You know, even though there's so many people died and it's so very sad. But if we've got one little bit of a survival story, that we'll cling on to that, because that's how we are as human beings. And the other good thing about him surviving, of course, is he can give, first-hand testimony about what happened. Like he said, there'd been a bang. I mean, we can watch it, because of the way things are these days. People take videos of everything, don't they? So we can watch things. But see that? You can't believe that somebody could walk away. How could he walk away? Anyway, I'll be intrigued to find out. I've got to turn it off now because I've got to go. As much as I don't want to, because it's fascinating, I've got to go and teach some Spanish. But yeah, good for him. I mean, how could he walk away from that? Anyway, he did, apparently. So, as I say, I'm going to go off and teach some Spanish. Then I've got some running around to do. I've got to have some dinner. I've got to have a little nap. And then I'll see you for Members Live. If you remember, I will see you then. We're going to talk about Summer Wells and the developments in the Summer Wells case. That's an interesting case, isn't it? I feel like it's gone cold a little bit because there's always more cases coming up. Poor little Summer Wells. Where is she? What happened to her? Anyway, we're going to look at her dad talking, and, you're going to tell me what you think about what might have happened to Summer. But anyway, as far as this case is concerned, or this event, it's not really a case, is it? As far as this event is concerned, God bless to the people, that did, unfortunately, die in this flight, and absolute miracle that man survived. And there'll be more to come on this, but it'll be tomorrow now before I'm talking about this. So thank you so much. I'll see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you.